Gender-based violence is probably one of the most challenging issues faced in the whole wide world. Reports from United Nations, World Health Organizations, and different statistics from each countries specifically emphasizes the seriousness of this topic. There are many voices that we need to address. There are many challenges that we need to talk about, and this problem has been existing for a long time and is still existing as of today. My name is Leah Grace Eleno Narce, and in behalf of my group from the Philippines, I am going to present to you today our research, which is entitled Gender-Based Violence in Baguio City, Physical and Psychological Abuse in Focus. Gender-based violence is commonly defined as the violence which is pertaining or addressed or violence that the opposite sex commits to the other. Usually it's based on gender because women or children, they are usually perceived as the weaker individual in the society. It may be because of their physical capability or psychological maturity. But specifically, gender-based violence is an issue that has been existing before. And though there are many organizations and many programs, many interventions all over the world, and we are 2021 right now, and still we are talking about this. Statistics shows that 1 out of 4 women experiences gender-based violence. And we are only talking about here about those reported cases, meaning those who reach the women's police desk, those who have reached the criminal justice system. But how about those voices that are still silenced as of now? This study was conducted in the Philippines, which is divided with 3 different islands. We have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. This study focuses in the part of Luzon, which is specifically the Cordillera Administrative Region. This is one of the region in the Philippines which has the highest cases of violence against women. Just by 2017 alone, just for 1 year, there were around 712 cases reported to the Women's Police Desk Office of the Philippine National Police. And these numbers are not decreasing. With the recent effects and changes during the pandemic period, there are several researchers that shows that it is more increasing than before. This study used the qualitative approach. Basically, we interviewed the police officers who handles gender-based violence cases, of course, because of the ethical issues involved in the Philippines, and I think it's all over the whole country or all international or worldwide as well. These cases are very sensitive, and only police officers, women police officers, handle this. So what we did was we interviewed 10 police officers who specialize and who handles these specific cases. We interviewed with different police stations in Baguio City, and these were the questions that we sought to answer before. Number 1, what are the common forms of physical and psychological violence experienced by the participants based on their knowledge upon the initial report to their office? Second, what are the problems they encountered? Of course, it's natural that in each organization they are implementing the law, but the problems are apparent. Third, if we talk about the problem that they are encountering, what are the interventions? What are their initiatives to solve the problems? So these are the cases within 2015 to 2019, and our participants were only limited to the Women's Police Desk of Baguio City, Philippines. The results of this study revealed that the common forms of physical violence are mauling, kicking, slapping, pushing, punching, and hair pulling. Some statements of the participants said that they usually come to us crying, shocked, and speechless. Some of them we need to bring to the hospital immediately. These are the common types of physical violence experienced by women, and we can only imagine the feelings of the victims coming, reporting to the police station, having these different types of experiences. Some of them needs immediate hospital attention. Some of them needs immediate treatment. Some of them needs to have a little bit of time to process what they experience. They can't talk immediately. These types of physical violences is not limited to just by simply hurting the opposite gender or hurting your partner. The effects are apparent, and these are the answers of the participants when we ask them about the common forms of physical violence. However, aside from physical violence, the thing that they can feel, the thing that may leave bruises, the thing that may leave marks in their body, the second part is for the psychological violence, which is it may not leave a mark in their body, it may not leave scars, but it will enable them or it will make them experience a long time psychological effect, depression, and any other forms of mental incapabilities. Usually, they suffered from verbal abuse, so we're talking about cursing. Some of them also said that when they interviewed the neighbors of the victims, even the neighbors knew about it. They can hear them cursing, screaming. Even the children can hear this. Second is the most common forms of psychological violence is that they're always afraid that their partners are cheating on them. And at some point, they found it to be normal. One of the participants said that cheating husband becomes normal for them. They do not take it seriously. They do not think that it's a reason for separation. Somehow the normalization rate is getting higher, and it's something that it's something that makes them depressed. As to the problems encountered by the women's police or the police officers, number one is the fear from their partner. So usually, during the case, at some point they will withdraw their complaints with or without specific reasons. For example, some may say that we will withdraw the complaints because we fear that financially we will not survive because we need them. What will we do if they will be imprisoned because they are financially dependent of them? Number one is the fear is apparent. Even if the police officers are willing to help and assist them, they can feel that the victims doesn't want to continue with the complaint because they can feel the fear from their husband, fear from their partners who once promised them a happy ending. Aside from that, they are afraid to have a broken family. Some of the participants said that when they asked the victims, why don't you want to pursue the investigation? Why don't you want to pursue the case? Simply their answer was, I am going to sacrifice for my children. I don't want my children to grow up without a father. I want them to grow in a complete family, even though it's not perfect, because it's normal. It is something that can be forgiven again and again just for the sake of the children. Aside from that, another reason is the affection they felt towards their partner. The affection or the thinking that if you are committed to someone, if you are in a relationship with someone, if you promise to be with someone for better or for worse, you should accept the worst part, which includes physical and psychological abuse. Aside from that, major factor is that, yeah, it's the financial independent situation. They don't have work, they don't have their own business, they don't have their own financial resources. So that is why they are afraid that what will happen to them once they file the case or they will continue the case to their husbands or to their partners. On the other hand, aside from the problems that the police officers encountered from the victims, another problem is the insufficiency of facilities that is offered to the victims. For example, if the victims were maltreated and if they need to be kept in a place so that they can think, they can be separated from the husband. However, the facilities are not that sufficient. So these are the challenges encountered by the WCPD officers. Now let's talk about the interventions or the solutions done by the police officers in Baguio City. Number one, they are implementing awareness by um, information dissemination. They have active social media platforms. They conduct house-to-house visits. They went to specific barangays. They go into a rotational activities to inform the community that we have laws protecting them. That if they speak for themselves, there are certain people and agencies, organizations that can help and support them. So usually these are consistent activities supported by the non-government organizations and government organizations. Second is they also provide marriage counseling. For example, after the case has been filed and then they decided to drop the case or just to not continue filing the case, they recommend them to go marriage counseling because, of course, the WCPD hopes that it is something that may not happen again. Maybe it is something that can be talked about, that they need help of psychologists to tell them what is wrong and what should be done about the problem that the partners or the married couples are experiencing. However, on the other hand, there are also specific seminars that are being offered by the Philippine National Police to the police officers who are handling these sensitive situations. Because, for example, the police officers, after they handle the case, after all the abuse they saw, after all the stories they heard, eventually it makes them feel they are a part of it. And because of that, they feel guilty, they feel stressed, they're questioning themselves that what could I have done? What should I do to prevent this from happening? What will I feel if I am in that exact situation? Because of this stress and other psychological effects to the police officers as well, they are continuously undergoing stress management seminars to separate work from personal life and in hope that it will not affect their performance in their line of duty. Based from the results of the study, these are the conclusions and recommendations. The existing laws in the Philippines are sufficient. However, it may not be effective because there are several challenges encountered by the participants. Physical abuse and psychological abuse produce equivalent effects to the victim. So we are concluding that psychological and physical, though it talks about a whole different level, but the effects are the same. Lastly, the intervention programs are conducted. It's apparent, it's observable. However, of course, additional support from the different factors of the governments are needed. Now, what are the things that needs to be done? Firstly, we need to empower women. And when we say empowering women, it's not just about encouraging them. It's all about giving them livelihood so that they can sustain themselves financially and their children. When we say empowering women, it will not only stop by encouraging them to do it, but by assisting them in a long framework of time. So aside from this, we are recommending additional funding from the government so that sufficient facilities will be provided. So for the victims, they will be comfortable. They can have more time to think for themselves. They will feel that they are protected inside of these facilities. Support groups are apparent, but maybe we need this to be multiplied. Information dissemination as well, these are being done, but intensification is recommended so that every community, every parts of the community, not only women, not only men, but we're talking about the whole population wherein everyone is aware about the rights of women. Everyone is aware that if they see domestic violence or gender-based violence going around, they can speak for them. If they cannot speak for themselves, we have the chance to protect them because we can speak for them. Again, this is the result of our study. My name is Leia Grace Eleno Narce. I am from the Philippines. Thank you for listening and mabuhay. Thank you.